Welcome to Alifes, Anonymous Life Stories. Today we will be introduced to Emily's very interesting story. For privacy reasons, Emily's identity will be hidden and all names will be fictitious. Emily lived an ordinary life with her husband Mark and his son Jason from a previous marriage. Jason was now an adult. He was 23 years old, but he still lived with them. Emily had always tried to maintain a good relationship with Jason, but their interactions were mostly superficial. We're glad you're here. Emily, let's start from the beginning. Can you tell us about the day that changed everything for you?
Thank you. It was just an ordinary day, or at least it seemed like one at first. The kind of day where everything blends into routine. You wake up, make coffee, check the weather, answer a few emails. Nothing remarkable. Mark was watching TV in the living room, and I had just finished folding some laundry. I remember walking down the hallway with a basket in my arms, humming something I'd heard on the radio that morning. Then I passed Jason's room. The door was slightly ajar. Not unusual in itself. He often left it that way. But something about it caught my eye this time. Maybe it was the way the light hit the floor, or the unusual stillness of the house. Something inside me shifted. It was like a whisper in my chest telling me to pause. I don't know why, but I stopped. I stood there for a second, debating with myself. I could have turned back, gone to my own room, minded my own business, but I didn't. I took a step closer. The basket was still in my hands, but I wasn't thinking about laundry anymore. I peered through the small opening, quietly, almost guiltily. That's when I saw him, Jason. He was sitting on his bed, completely unaware of my presence. His back was slightly hunched, shoulders tense, eyes locked on his laptop screen. At first glance, I thought he was just watching a movie or some action video. He always liked those intense video games or thriller films. But then I looked closer. His posture, his expression, it didn't match what he was seeing. He wasn't relaxed or entertained. He was absorbed, focused in a way that made me uneasy. I couldn't see the screen clearly at first, but then, as he shifted slightly, the angle changed, just enough for me to catch a glimpse, and that's when it hit me. My breath caught in my throat, my heartbeat quickened. What I saw wasn't just some harmless video, it was something else. Something he shouldn't have been watching. And more importantly, something he shouldn't have been watching about me. I stepped back, my pulse racing, feeling like I had just stumbled into a moment I was never meant to see. I froze.
Wait a moment, Emily, how did Jason even get access to such an explicit video of you? Where did it come from?
I wish I had a simple answer. The truth is, a long time ago, when I was much younger and in a difficult place in life, I worked briefly in the adult entertainment industry. It wasn't something I was proud of. It's actually something I've spent years trying to forget. I was young, broke, and desperate. The studio owned all the rights to the content, and although I've tried many, many times to get everything taken down, it's virtually impossible once it's out there. I live with that shame every day. I thought I had buried it, locked it away in a past life. I never imagined it would resurface. Like this. My blood drained from my face, and a cold wave washed over me. I hadn't expected this, and I hadn't wanted to see it. Jason scrambled to compose himself, frantically lowering the volume on his laptop, but it was too late. Our eyes met, and the shame in his eyes was undeniable. A million thoughts raced through my mind. I felt embarrassed, but there was also this strange warmth spreading through me. I quickly stepped out of the room, my heart pounding against my chest. I pressed my hands to my face, trying to steady my breath. I whispered to myself, "What the hell was that?" I couldn't believe what had just happened. We didn't say a word to each other for the rest of the evening. No texts, no eye contact, not even small talk. The silence between us was deafening. At dinner, we sat at the same table, but couldn't look at each other. The only sound was the clinking of silverware against our plates. We both knew we needed to talk, but neither of us knew how to start. Days turned into weeks, and the tension between us only grew stronger. One afternoon, Jason sat down next to me. I could see the hesitation in his eyes, but it was clear he wanted to fix things. He said, "Emily, about the other day, I'm really embarrassed. I'm sorry. I didn't want things to be this way. Please, I don't want this to ruin things between us." I took a deep breath and tried to put him at ease. I smiled and said, "Oh, Jason, believe me, I've had my fair share of embarrassing moments over the years." I shared a few of those moments with him, and his smile relaxed a little. It seemed like the tension between us had lifted, but deep down, I knew nothing had truly passed. Things seemed to get better on the surface, but the boundaries between us had completely vanished. We started spending more time together, watching movies, having small conversations. There was an unspoken pull between us, something we both felt, but never acknowledged. Sometimes, when Jason rested his arm on the couch, or when our laughter intertwined, I felt something strange inside me. One night, I couldn't sleep. I kept tossing and turning in bed, but the restlessness inside me wouldn't let me be. There was only one thing on my mind: Jason. I got out of bed and went to his room. His door was slightly open, and the dim light inside faintly illuminated the room. As I stepped inside, I saw him sleeping, but my eyes were fixed on something else. Seeing him like that sent a storm raging inside me. I stood there for a few seconds, trying to understand what I was feeling. Then I pulled back. I returned to my room and lay down, but nothing was the same anymore. That night, I had no idea how much more complicated things would become. No matter what I did, I couldn't resist this growing closeness with Jason. With each passing day, the boundaries blurred even more, and the pull between us only got stronger. One night, Jason came home drunk. The noise from the door and the things he knocked over could have woken my husband, Mark, but I knew how hard it was for him to wake up. I quickly stepped out of my room and went to Jason. He was too out of it to do anything on his own, so I helped him change his clothes. As my fingers reached for the buttons of his shirt, the tension between us filled the air. Jason hesitated. Then he looked at me and said, "I'm not playing this game anymore, Emily." I stared at him, my heart pounding. I said, "Jason, this isn't right." But my voice trembled. He smiled slightly and said, "We passed the point of deciding what's right a long time ago, Emily. Stop lying to yourself." Then he took a step forward and another. He was so close that I could feel his breath against my skin. He reached up, his fingers trailing gently over my cheek. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't, because deep down, I knew he was right. He whispered, "Emily, I've dreamt about this moment for so long. I've imagined it 1,000 times in my head. You're so beautiful, and I can't hold back anymore. I've wanted you for so long, and I know you feel the same way." Everything changed in that moment. All the silence, all the tension, it all culminated in that one kiss. I hadn't resisted Jason, and the truth was I had never wanted to. I knew there was nothing left to hide. I took a deep breath and slowly slid the straps of my clothing off my shoulders. I whispered, "You're right, Jason. Let's not play this game anymore." I was scared, but at the same time, I knew how long I had been waiting for this moment. Jason looked into my eyes and said, "White cake, don't be afraid. Everything is right." I looked away, a shiver running through me. Even if I couldn't admit it to myself, I knew how much I wanted this. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. We couldn't keep our hands off each other, and the intensity of our feelings only grew stronger. But I knew that this couldn't last forever. Mark was going to find out eventually, and I didn't know how to face that reality. One day, Mark came home early from work. Jason and I were in the kitchen, and we were so caught up in each other that we didn't hear him come in. When Mark walked in and saw us, the look on his face said it all. He knew something was going on. I froze. Jason quickly stepped away from me, but it was too late. Mark looked at us, his eyes filled with a mix of confusion and anger. He said, What's going on here?" I tried to come up with an explanation, but the words wouldn't come out. Jason stepped in and said, "Mark, we need to talk." It was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. We sat down at the table, and Jason and I explained everything to Mark. We told him about the moment that changed everything, about the tension that had been building between us, and about the feelings we couldn't ignore. Mark listened quietly, his expression unreadable. He was understandably hurt and angry. He said he needed time to process everything, and that he didn't know what the future held for us. It was a painful reality to face, but I knew that we had to be honest with him. It was a long and difficult process. We gave Mark the space he needed, and we tried to be as open and honest with him as possible. It was a roller coaster of emotions, but we knew that we had to face the consequences of our actions. Eventually, Mark came to terms with what had happened. He realized that our feelings for each other were genuine, and that we hadn't intended to hurt him. We all agreed to work on rebuilding our relationships and to move forward together.
That's a very inspiring story of forgiveness and understanding. What advice would you give to others who find themselves in a similar situation?
I would say that honesty and communication are key. It's important to be true to yourself and to those around you, even if it means facing difficult truths. And remember that forgiveness is a powerful tool for healing and moving forward.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Emily. It's been an incredible journey, and we wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you for having me. It's been a challenging but rewarding experience to share my story, and I hope it can help others who are going through similar situations.
Thank you, Emily. Friends, if you've listened this far, thank you for being with us. Subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, and listen to other stories. Your support is very important to us. Thank you for being with us.